Hi everybody, this is Alex for atutsplus.com, and today we are going to create a dusty transition like this clip. So I'll show you this at first. So we're going to create some keys and use some spline warping techniques in Nuke to get this Falcon morph out of her hand, and we are going to use trapcode particular to create this dusty transition. Alright, so let's get ready to start and go back to Nuke. I want to show you not all of this tidy up process, and I just want to focus a little bit more onto the core techniques I use to get this shot done, and then I'll just copy in the rest of the node tree and explain in short terms to you what I did there so you can follow up. Alright, so at first I just want to show you our source footage of the woman. So that is that one, and we need to isolate the woman out of that plate to get this transition going on properly. And as you will see later on, we reframed this shot, so I took the isolated woman and transitioned her a little over the left, so there we put her into the rule of thirds to make this shot a little more interesting and let the Falcon not just leave out here, but instead we start over here and let the Falcon fly into the middle of the image, so that we're just got a little more artistical framing for that shot. Alright, enough said, so let's start. To isolate this woman, I just searched for a frame of the original sequence, and that was on frame 95, where most of the clouds and the details in the sky were not covered by the woman. So let's see here. So we got this part here in detail, and that one here we got only got this tiny stuff and this that we had to paint back. So I rendered out this frame 95 as an XR, sorry, and then I brought that back into Nuke, and then I just created a difference node from A to B, and just have a look at that, and that creates so let's just swap the inputs. Okay, so after we created this difference mat, I just added a grade node, and if you can see here, I just got only gray values, so I just upped the gain value of my difference mat so that we got a much more contrasty result through this difference node. Then I added the grade node and crushed down my whites. Oh, we need to influence only the alpha on there. So you can see we just got a quite good white matte, but we are just having some background noise in here, so I bumped up those like so, and we got just a pretty good but slightly harsh matte for our woman. So I just copy over the node tree from my original shot and explain to you what I did in detail. Right, so just grab that. Okay, so here we are. As you already saw, I added a grade node, then I just blurred my image by a value of 2, I guess. Yeah, right. But my map got a little bit bigger as I wanted it to be, so I deleted it by a few pixels and reformatted the whole image to HD. And then we just had to get rid of those artifacts that you can see here and here. And for you After Effects guys following up this tutorial, I just added a few masks and then I switched the color to black, but that's corresponding to After Effects mask option, and used the subtraction mode of it, so that is just got hold out. So I just added spline like so. And Nuke is automatically keying when you're drawing a mask. So if I just jump back to another frame and drag my mask, so you can see that this is automatically be keyed. Alright, so I just delete that mask again. And after all that stuff, we end up with a pretty nice mat for our woman. So I'll leave that alone for a moment and we'll get to our Falcon. So for this Falcon, I pretty much used the same techniques, as I now don't want to bother you watching me again doing all the different keying stuff and things. One thing I want to mention is that I used a mask based on our difference key in here in combination with another roto mask to drive a color correction mask to get our Falcon color corrected right way in this particular area. So I took the difference key and just stenciled out the portion I wanted to be affected by our grade node, and then I put that into the mask input, and as you can see now we got a fully black Falcon as I needed it for the shot. Alright, after that I added some roto paints as well, getting rid of the Falconeer's hand and stuff, and we end up pretty much with the same alpha channel layout as we did for the WIM. Okay, so that's a simple setup of our Falcon and WIM. For the background, we had to deal with some red lights flashing at the horizon, so I simply rendered out a frame where this is not visible as a clean plate, and then I just draw a matte again to just let me show that to you in a second. So on frame, I think we were on 78 or something like that. So you can see that over there is a red flashing light. So I took a rotor node, just checked it to alpha only, and then I draw a mat just like this. Around that area, then I just by hitting command feathered that out a bit so that we got nice fall off at the edges, and then I just pipe that into our clean plate, which I can show you here, and then I just added a pre-mult node for pre-multiplication, and then I'll just show you okay, so I just have to drag that mask over there, and boom, you see our red flashing light is gone and our horizon is cleaned up now. Alright, so let's get to the core business of this shot. So the task was to get the woman disintegrate into a dusty sand cloud and raising this Falcon out of the woman's hand. So I decided to go with the Spline warp. I just copied over a transform node, as you can see here, which positions the woman at the actual position in the shot. And then I added a mask that stenciled out only the alpha of the hand that you can see here. And then I just dropped in my women as the source and the Falcon as the destination, and then we just have a look at the spline warp, and I'll just explain you how that one works. So as this was done in Nuke 6.1 during production, and we're now on 6.3. I'll just show you the original spline warp, which has currently changed a bit, but I think it's pretty easy to follow up. Alright, so I'll just switch over to the source, and as you can see, we started to transition on frame 68 and ended up on 79. So I draw two spline lines, as you can see here, spline 1 and spline 2. One for the upper portion of the arm, one for the lower, and then I just got to frame 79 and adjusted those lines to line up my hand position, and then I went through all these frames in between and just adjusted my curves to match those lines. So after I finished my source splines, I just switched over to destination and did the same on this one, the Falcon. So I just show you my Falcon with my splines, and then I go to frame 68, and as you can see here as well, we got spline 1 and spline 2. Important to notice is that I just took care to have the same amount of spline points on the corresponding source and destination splines for a better morph, and so you can pin your spline points on the best corresponding points of your image. Alright, so on frame 79 I adjusted my Falcon splines as mentioned before and went through all this in between frames and adjusted them as well. After I finished that and I got my splines to match up properly, I just went to the beginning to frame 68 and set a key on the distortion and the blend value of my spline warp, and went to frame 79 and did the same on this frame, but then I set a key as 1 as we finished our morph in this frame. And so you can see that now our morph, if I just go here to blend and have a look at my spline warp, you can see on frame 68 we start with the hand, and on frame 79 we just have our Falcon, and in this in between frames we finally come up with some hand parts morphing into our Falcon. Okay, so then I had to render out the women isolated from our background, so I just added a right node in here and rendered out this part of the image, our black silhouette of the woman with alpha included, and then I rendered out as well, as you can see here, and switch back to RGB. I rendered out the background plate with our hand Falcon morph included in the plate, so that we can just put that together quite easily in After Effects. So with these two plates rendered out here with our second right node, I just jump right over to After Effects and get back to you soon. Alright, so right in After Effects I just wanted to show you the final comp that I ended up with. So this is, as you can see, nothing too complicated, but the main issue is to work out this particle setup so that we just get this dusty falling into a sand cloud effect. So let's get started. I just imported my footage that I rendered out, so I'll just show you again. So this is just the backplate with the hand and the Falcon morph, and the Falcon flying away. And this one is just let me check the alpha, is just our woman isolated from the background. So right back into the composition, you can see that those don't line up right now, so we have to just move our actress over so that we got this stuff lining up pretty much as they should. Alright, that looks good to me, so we are good to go. As you could see in this final clip, our transition effect starts on the left and goes over to the right. So for this I wanted particular to emit from a layer, and this layer was just my women's background that I just pre-composed, and I just prepared that for you. So this is the woman in the right position going on there. And what I did then was I just added an effect color correction tint, and I just mapped the black to white again, and then I added a mask that I animated over time as I wanted the animation to take place. And then I just set this to add and added some mask expansion later on, as I saw that I just needed some more particles to get emitted. Right, so that would be our source that would drive the particle emission. So we just start over to get this into our comp. I just load that in, and as you can see, this is pretty much lining up our position right now. Okay, I'll just switch that off, as we don't want this white layer to be visible for our eyes, so we just want that to drive the particles. For the particles, we just add black solid at comp size. We just name it particles transition, and make sure to make it 3D, as particular only allows 3D. Oh, sorry, not this one. We need this particle emission layer to be 3D, as particular only allows 3D layers to emit particles and not plain 2D layers. So I'll just add trap code particular to the shot, and then I'll just get you quickly through the settings that I just set up for my shot, but I advise you to feel free to experiment with that. Maybe you get up with a exciting but new looking transition. Would be cool if you would submit that to this tutorial site or to the comments, so that everyone could see your efforts. That would be quite cool. Alright, so at first we just wanted to define our emitting particle layer, and that's at the bottom here. So we take particle source as our emission layer, and as you can see now, we just get this particles visible during this transition. I just want to bump that up to 5,000 for you to get that more visible, but we just have to get those particles into the right spots so that it just feels a little better. Right, so let's just keep this velocity at 15, as well as the random velocity and our velocity from motion. And we end that up to an emitter size Z to 0, as we don't need any 3D space in here, as we just got a silhouette shot plain 2D. Alright, so we're fine up here. In the final shot we just need to pump that up a lot, but I think for testing we just might keep that quite low to keep computing time quite affordable. Alright, so particle life and things are fine. I cranked up the particle size to 9, and for size over life we ended up with particles getting smaller, and we added this same curve as well to the opacity over life. so that we just get a smooth fall off when the particles come to their death. Right, so that looks much better than the start, but we're not there yet, so we go on with the shading. That's a new feature from particular in version 2. We switched that on, and now you may have noticed that our particles got pure black from pure white, because there's no light actually falling onto these particles that would keep them bright and shiny. So they are black now. Then added up the ambient to 50 and the diffuse to 19, and then we just go on and create our lights first. I think 60% will be sufficient. So light 1, and we copy that one over to here. And maybe you have noticed that now our particles raise their gray value as we just drag that over here. So here it's gray, and if we move further away it gets dark again. So let's get back to our particle things. Just close emitter and particles. Going to the shading in here, we should choose shadow LED for main and aux to on, and jump into the shadow LED settings. Let's jump to the physics menu, and we choose the air model, as we just want the dust transition to feel naturally like a dust cloud or something like that. So I just added gravity so that our particles would fall down slightly as they got emitted. I just bumped up our air resistance, and I just cranked up the spin amplitude for our particles to get a little more movement in there. Then I choose wind -100 next, so that those particles would fall a little more towards the lower left corner, with a wind coming from the front of the woman. Okay, so let's see what we got here in our turbulence field options. I just bumped that effect position up to 19, to 17. And I think that should be nice for now. So after we created our physics, I'll added a continuously emitting aux system. Okay, I just forgot to mention that I just forgot to mention that I changed the position of the spherical field to 480 by 270, and then we'll just get back to our aux system. So I just make those particles a lot smaller to around 2, and I up the particles per second's emission to 15. And then I just added this wind effect up to 75, and Alright, so now that's what we got so far. Maybe you're a little worried about this overall ongoing org system, but if we are going to layer emitter and just change this from current time to particle birth time, you can see that all those nasty org system particles disappeared, and we just only got our particles in here. So that's nothing too fancy at the moment. But if we raise that up to maybe 200,000, we might get a little better. Okay, so I'll just raise that up and we'll be back in a few seconds for you. Alright, so what we got so far is now this transition effect. So you can see that now our big particles are going on over here, and our org system is spraying out some smaller particles as a second movement. Alright, so that's looking quite interesting, but not exactly what we were after, right? So I think we just should go on and add our transition in here. So let's just switch on our visibility layer in here. So we start on here. So we add a mask for our woman and switched it to subtract. So now everything should be visible, and hit double M, add the mask path animation, and then we'll just go through our animation and we're done with it in here. So just let's animate this through and let's double check if we are currently matching our transition particle line. So that looks pretty good. So just switch off our animation layer and we'll just add some feather to our mask. Alright, so now our woman is already disappearing and the Falcon is rising. But problem is that it's not quite looking like a dusty transition. So that's the point where vector motion blur and directional blur come into play. So I'll show you in a second. Okay, so with our layer selected, we just go to effects and blur and sharpen, and we go to directional blur, and we just add a blur length of 15. And what now happens is that it's blurring the pixels 15 by 15 pixels in the length, so that we got some more streamlining downfall of our particles with some motion blur intention. So, and they got in addition a little more smoothed out and metaballed, so it's looking more like a natural mass of dust and cloud. So to enhance this, we just use an additional vector blur. So we go to Effect, Blur, choose CC Vector Blur. And for this, I'll go with amount of 215 and 10. Alright, so now if we just check our animation, we got from our particular stuff only to our blurred particle version that's looking pretty much more like a dust transition, doesn't it? Alright, so what I can see is that we just need to fix our transition point, so just let's contract the mask a little more. Alright, so that looks fine to me. What I ended up with is adding hue and saturation and levels to the particle layer, because we didn't match the blacks before. If you can see here, it's just a little grayish and stuff, so I just added that up on top so that we would match our silhouette view. Alright, and that's pretty much it. As you can see in this transition, if we just deactivate our lights, we got some way more harsh and ugly edges, but with this lights and the shading option of particular 2, that really helped a lot to sell this shot. Alright, so I hope that you got some useful information in this tutorial, and hope to see you next time. Alright, see ya.